Hey guys, Harry here from the Art Gear Guide. Thank you very much for joining me today. And I'm going to do a quick intro into this video. But first of all, just let me say, as you can see, this video is about these new OLO markers that have come out onto the market. And what I want to talk about in this video, obviously this is a review video, but I also want to discuss the fact that whether OLO could actually take over Copic. Every time a new marker comes out onto the market, one of the biggest questions everybody asks is, are they better than Copic? Copic for the longest time have been kind of like the benchmark of markers, and so many different companies have tried to replicate them and failed and what have you for various different reasons that I've spoke about many times in different videos. But in this video I'm going to look at all the different factors of the OLO marker, and this marker is not like any of the other markers that you've ever used before, so there is a vast difference in this marker as opposed to Copic and other markers that you've used. So stay tuned and hopefully I will answer the question for you as to whether I think OLO could take over being the next benchmark marker on the market. Let's get into the video. As you can see here, I've got a review of the OLO Markers. This is a brand new marker system that has come out. It's mainly available in the US at the minute, but they are expanding all over the world because, especially here in the UK, because they're just doing so well. At the point of doing this part of the review, I normally do my reviews in a certain way. I'll do all the testing, then I'll do the artwork, and then I'll do the video talking about the review. Doing the review because I know all the information I need to know, but I'm having to do this a slightly different way this time. So I've not done the artwork at the minute, and I'll explain that to you in a second. But obviously, because of the magic of video editing and things like that, I'll just cut and then I'll be back to talking about the performance. So as you can see here inside the box, I've got the markers. Now I have 128 here. There's 160 in total, 160 colours in total. But at the time of me getting this, the remaining 32 colours that I don't have, they were kind of like a new addition to the 128 that they already had. So, but what I can tell you, before I even go any further with this, I will definitely be getting those other 32 colours because the little contact I've had with these markers so far, I just love them. But let me explain. So inside the box came some stickers, which I think is just brilliant. I love it when companies provide stickers and things like that. I know it sounds childish, but I love it. There was a little pamphlet in here showing you the entire colour wheel that they have. Talking a little bit about the marker, which I'll explain to you in a second. A little bit about the refills, things like that, and how the markers work. They provided a swatch where you can swatch all your colours onto it. What I will say is, whatever paper OLO have used for these swatches, I think they should come out with their own sketchbooks as well, or marker pads, whatever. This paper is phenomenal, and the way that the markers work on this paper is just beautiful. Now I've got to try other papers, and I will talk about those other papers when I come to the performance end of the marker. But for now, the way these markers worked on this paper and the way this paper just, the two just worked beautifully, so well together. As you can see here, that's the full 128 colours. You can see there that there's a couple missing, but you got to be careful because there's some very, very pale tones here as well. But I'll talk about the palette later. And then also inside the box I got some refills, these mid dividers, which I'm going to talk about, and then these as well. So as you can see all the colours there, the way the camera's set up, but what you can't see is this is the size of the markers. However, the ink that's in this is equivalent to a full Copic marker or Hoo marker, whatever, any other alcohol marker that's on the market. The ink that's in this is a little bit more actually than what's in all of the others. It contains 4 ml of ink, but I'm going to talk about that in a second. So when OLO contacted me, they asked me what I wanted. You can get the markers in chisel nib or brush nib, and I wanted all of mine in brush nib. So here's how they work. So you have your color, and this little bag of mid-section dividers, you screw them into the end of the marker, just like so. Now what you can do at this point is, so I have a B2.4, which is Bluebird. That's the colour. The name of the colour is on the side of the marker here, but as you can see on the lid, you get the alphanumeric number. Now, if I'd have been ordering these just for myself and not to review, what I could have done was ordered another, because this is a brush nib. I'll talk about the brush nib in a second. What I could have done was ordered another B2.4 chisel nib and attached it to the end. Or I can go, so that's the B2.4, get the B2.6, attach it to the marker, and then I've got, whenever I'm doing blending, I've got two markers in one kind of thing. I can do it really fast. The only downside to that, to using the marker in that way, is the storage. So if I was storing this into my marker system, I'm only going to have one colour showing. I'm going to have to remember what the other colours are that are behind it, that are inside the marker system, because only one side is going to be shown to me. That's not a great deal, because you can just pull them out. And you're going to know that whatever colour is showing, the other colour is going to be either darker or lighter. So it's not terribly difficult to wrap your head around, but it is something to bear in mind. Obviously, but if you used the system like I showed you with a brush nib and a chisel nib, then it wouldn't really matter, because it's just the same colour. Now, these little things here are handles, so rather than adding two colours on the end, you can just get an OLO handle and just attach them to it, and it gives you it's essentially just a pencil extender, only this is a marker extender. And again, you've got to pay a little bit extra just for these handles if you want to get those. I will have all of the pricing over on the Art Gear Guide written system. I can't talk about it here because it is a little bit complex. But you can get the markers in sets all ready for you to go, and you can just sort them out. What I love about this system is each artist is different in how they use their markers, and you can customize this in any way you want. I know a lot of marker artists don't like the chisel nibs, and so you can customize this and just have brush nibs, as I've done. So it's a great system for customization. But like I said, each time you pull, if you wanted to just keep them this size, each time you pull out a marker, you just twist it on. It only takes a couple of seconds, and then you're good to go. So there's that. Now, the main feature about these markers is the ink delivery system. Okay, inside one of these markers, there is a central reservoir, like a felt absorber in the center. So what happens is you fill your marker up, the ink goes in, and it gets absorbed in this felt delivery system. When you use the marker, so when you take the lid off and you go to use your marker, the ink will draw from the nib, and it will take ink away from the felt delivery system that's in the center. The problem about that is, and a lot of you marker artists will know this, is sometimes if you're covering a large area, the nib will dry out. Now, all you've got to do is stop for a second, and it will refill up with ink, and you're good to go. But that's because of the delivery system. That's because of this felt delivery system. It's just a slow delivery system, and that's all there is to it. And so when you're filling in big large areas, you do have to wait until it fills back up again, and that's it. Another issue with this type of system is when you pour in all of your ink and you fill it all up, you won't get all of that ink out. So you're not going to be using all of the ink, the expensive ink that you've put in there. Some of it just gets absorbed into the felt and stays there. What OLO have done, inside here, the ink is liquid. There is no delivery system. Now what this means is, when I use the marker and I place the brush nib or the chisel nib onto the paper, it is a continuous flow of ink. You don't have to wait a second for the ink to come through from the felt delivery system or anything like that. It is straight ink to nib connection. And I can't stress this enough. I know I've not done any artwork with them at this point, but the swatch that I filled in, the flow of ink is just gorgeous, and I mean that. It's beautiful, it's seamless, I can't speak highly enough of it. The delivery system that they have in here is amazing, and I don't know why other marker companies have not come up with the same thing. Now obviously OLO have patented a proper system for that. There must be a reason why other marker companies haven't done it in the past, but OLO have come up with it and they have patented it, so I can't imagine too many other marker companies are going to be doing the same thing. But the way this ink flows is just beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. The actual refills are this, so same size as the marker barrel, little bit smaller. You have a little cap here on the top. It just pops off, and then you have your reservoir there, and you just tip it into the marker that you want to fill up. So you can either wait until the marker is completely run dry. In fact, actually you're going to have to, because there is no, when the marker, like with Copic markers or any other marker that has that other delivery system, when it's starting to dry out, it'll kind of like, it'll provide a certain amount of ink, and then it starts to dry out gradually, and you can see that gradually, and so you top it back up, you put a few more mils in or whatever. With this system, that's not going to happen. You're going to use the marker, and you're just going to keep using it until it stops, and then all you do is you just refill it back up with this, and that's it, you're good to go. So there's no wastage of ink as well. And OLO reckon that of all of the ink that you put in from that system, you're going to use at least 90% of it. That isn't the case with other inks, with other markers that you use that have that central reservoir system. You don't get 90% of the ink back out onto the paper. And as anybody who's a marker artist knows, especially if you've got Copic markers, it's an expensive product to buy. So you need to know as an artist that if you buy 10 mils of ink, which is quite an expensive thing, that you're going to be getting at the very least 9 mils of that ink back out again. That's not the case with other markers. You're going to get a lot less than 9 mils back out of it, so you're wasting a fair amount of ink. OLO have put a lot of scientific research into this, and so you can see here a little bit, there'll be an image coming up on the screen. So this is kind of like their new patent style. It says OLO's patent cartridge-free flow ink system maintains consistent, controlled ink flow throughout the life of the cartridge. And although I can't, say anything about the life of it because I've not used it that long yet, I can say that the flow is 100% consistent. It is controlled. There's no big blotches of ink that fall out on the paper or anything like that sometimes. And it says here, it goes on to say, as a result, OLO provides you with more usable ink than any other alcohol-based marker alternative. It says, as you can see there, it says, patent-free flow ink system. Utilize over 90% of the ink in an OLO marker versus 65% in a traditional marker. So there you go. That's a significant amount of ink that you're not getting from your refills. Customize your markers with the connector, which I've just shown you. Durable replaceable nibs. That's another thing. Yeah, you can buy replaceable nibs if your nib starts to run out or anything like that. And like I said, you can come up with any combination that you want. 2 mil of ink in each half marker equals 4 mil. So inside one of these will hold 2 mil, but as a full complete marker, you've got 4 mils of ink in total there. And that's really about it. So I'm now going to go on and do the artwork that I've already drawn out with these markers. I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to this. I'm sorry guys, I'm stuttering a little bit here. I have been put on different medication and it's playing haywire with me here. I'm really sorry. It's just because my pain is increasing. But I'm so looking forward to doing the artwork with these. And like I said to you earlier on, OLO have been kind enough to send me 128 colours here. I will definitely be getting the other 32 colours because I love these markers so much. And through the magic, like I say, through the magic of video editing, I will be back in just a second, a click of a finger, and I will be talking to you about the performance of the markers, and I will have some artwork to show you as well. Okay guys, so with the click of a finger, and in reality about a week and 3 days later, I've got the performance end of these markers to talk to you about. Now, the reason why I say a week and 3 days later is because, so I done one piece of art with the markers, and for that particular piece of art, I used Copic marker paper. If you're not too familiar with it, and it's not Copic branded, but it's expressive blending card. So it is exceptional paper. It's expensive, but it's exceptional paper if you want to work with markers. It's a little bit more tricky whenever it comes to putting coloured pencil on top of this type of surface because it is so smooth. But its primary function is markers. So I did a piece of artwork with this paper, and I'll tell you how the markers panned out in a second. I then got the idea that, well, I want to see how they work on Bristol vellum. So I got a sheet of Bristol vellum and I did a different piece of artwork. And after using the Bristol vellum, I thought to myself, okay, so I've got a really good understanding of how they work on the expressive blending card, which is specifically made for markers. And I know what they're like on vellum. So I'm just going to try it on Bristol Smooth, which is kind of like somewhere in between the expressive blending card and the Bristol vellum. So I did a piece of artwork on that as well. I wanted to be able to give you guys the best review that I can of these markers, and I wanted to dedicate quite a lot of time to these markers because of the fact that they are a completely new marker. These markers are not like any of the other markers that are on the market in regards to the flow of ink and the consistency of that flow. They are remarkable. They really are remarkable. So, and also one thing before I forget, in the beginning part of this video, when I explained to you about the refills, I showed you one of the refills. This is a refill here, and I had said to you, you know, you take the top off and you just pour it in. That's not what you do. It's even more simpler than that. So this is a refill for the BG23. So I would just find the BG23, take the lid off, lift the nib out, whether it's a chisel nib or the brush nib, take this top off and place the nib in here, and then place the lid down on top of that, and you're good to go. It's as simple as that. And because of this new ink system that's inside these markers, you get the full amount of ink coming through your nib. So, for example, with Copic, let me grab a Copic marker here. So with Copic markers, aside from the serious issues that I have highlighted and that I see constantly now other marker artists talking about on Facebook, aside from those issues, inside here, this marker has, can you remember your felt tip pens? And when you like take them apart or something like that, they would have like a little felt tube in the middle, and that's what these markers have. They have a similar type system, and so when you pour the ink in, that felt tube absorbs the ink and it then disperses that ink whenever your nib touches the paper. And that's all very well and good and all the rest of it. But if you're filling in like a large area in these markers, anybody that's used these markers will know that you've got to stop every now and again and just allow that ink to flow back down into the nib, because it'll start to dry out, especially if you're doing like slightly bigger strokes. And I'm going to show you that in a second. Whereas with the OLO markers, that just doesn't happen. The consistency, and I tested this on two of the artworks. Two of the artworks I done backgrounds on, and so therefore covered large areas with the markers, and there was no stopping. That's why it was a much quicker process than using any of the other markers. Now, as you can see here, what I've done is, and I mentioned this in the first part of this video where I was showing you how you put these markers together. As you can see with this marker here, so I've got OR 3.7 on one side and OR 3.4 on the other side. You can see there that they just screw in together like that, like I showed you. I think perhaps, I mean, I don't like chisel nibs, so I got all of these colours in brush nib, but I think probably a better way of using these markers would be to have OR 3.7 brush nib and then a chisel nib. But then if you're not going to use the chisel nibs, you've got a lot of ink sitting there just doing nothing. I mean, I suppose you could interchange it, but when you use it this way, I did find, in all fairness, I did find it a little bit, not frustrating, just it took a little bit of time getting used to. When I had all of these markers sat out on the desk, and I'm looking at the markers, and I'm looking at the swatch that I've done. I'm having to, so the markers are lying flat on the table. I'm having to kind of like look on both sides to see, to remember. Now, with time of using these markers, you'll get used to that. You'll remember what's on what side of the marker and that type of thing. But the beauty of OLO is that it gives you the option. So you don't have to use them the way I'm using them. You can use them with a chisel nib and a brush nib. Or, if you wanted, you could get two brush nibs on either side, the same colour. It's up to you. Or, you don't even have to use it this way. You can scrap that all together and just screw in the handles and use it that way. So there are many different ways that you can use these markers, and that's what OLO are trying to do. They're trying to give you, as the artist, the ability to create the best marker system for you as an artist. But like I said, with regards to the actual ink in the markers and how it's delivered to the nib, they're exceptional. And I'm going to be honest with you, right? When I spoke to the guy about this, when he contacted me quite a long while back, I said to him, he explained the markers to me, and this was even before they had their website up and running. asked me if I'd be interested in reviewing them, and I'd said to him, it sounds to me they're a bit like the chameleon markers. And he immediately got back to me and he said, no, they're nothing like the chameleon markers. Now, I have not tried the chameleon markers, but I've seen other people use them, and to me they look a little bit cumbersome. They don't look like, you could just get a flat colour with them type of thing, because they fade. He came back to me and he said, no, they're nothing like the chameleon markers. And so I was a little bit apprehensive when they were sent out to me and I was waiting for them. I kind of thought to myself, I don't think I'm going to like these markers, and I'm going to have to give this company a pretty bad review, because in my head they were like the chameleon markers. And I know one of the guys at the company. I've dealt with him before when he worked for Sketchmarker, and he's a great guy. When I started using them, I just fell in love with them immediately. And I love markers. If you look at the photographs of my setup and stuff like that, I've got loads of markers. I've got the entire Copic collection. I've got Ohuhu markers. I've got Winsor & Newton markers. I've got Style File markers. I've got Arteza markers, Artex markers, sketch markers. I think that's about it. But over and all, I've got over 2,500 markers. So I love using markers. It's my favourite medium to use, marker and colour pencil. So I absolutely love them. Now, I'm going to come back to answering the question about whether I think these markers, the OLO markers, could knock Copic off their stand. And I'll come back to that in a second. But I just want to show you what I'm talking about with regards to this flow of ink and how it works. Okay, so before we get into the kind of like demonstration, if you like, this is the artwork that I done. So this was the first one that I done. This one took me about 8 hours, and this was the one that was done with the expressive blending card. So really smooth surface. Putting colour pencil on top of this is a little bit tricky, but with the likes of Prismacolor, which is a soft chord pencil, or like Derwent Colour Soft, you can get away with it. Or sometimes some of the Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils, if they're soft enough, they'll work on them here as well. And I used some of those. But you can see how rich and vibrant the colours are from the markers. Now, when people like myself do marker and colour pencil art, the colour pencil side of it is really just to blend out any transitions from the markers. That's really it, and to maybe add a few details that maybe the marker can't get to because they're too small. But other than that, the colours that you see here are colours from these OLO markers, and you can see just how gorgeous and rich and vibrant these colours are. They're absolutely gorgeous. The next one is this Red Skull from, I think he's a Marvel character, I'm not 100% sure. This was done on Bristol Smooth paper. So a little bit similar to the expressive blending card, not as smooth, a little bit easier to put colour pencil on top of this. But as you can see here again, these markers worked beautifully with this paper. After doing the Minions one, I went to the Vellum next. So I hadn't done the Red Skull by the time I'd done this one here. With the Bristol Vellum, there was a little bit of feathering. And that, I think, is just down to the fact that the vellum paper is a little bit more absorbent and doesn't give you the same time to blend that the Bristol Smooth or the expressive blending card does. The expressive blending card and a Bristol Smooth paper has like a film along on top of it that allows the marker ink to sit for just a second or two before drying into the paper. Whereas with the likes of Bristol Vellum, it absorbs the marker straight away and you don't really get a lot of time to blend. So I found on the Bristol Vellum paper that it feathered just a little bit, but nothing too significant. You can see here from this artwork, it's not like there was like a terrible mess made or anything like that. It's not like it feathered out all round the line work. You can see it a little bit. You can see in the image here popping up on your screen a little bit of feathering down around the paws. But this is kind of like where I started, and so I had to get used to the vellum paper. And in all honesty, had somebody handed me this paper and I used the OLO markers on it, and I didn't know what type of paper it was, I don't think I would have said it was Bristol vellum paper. I don't know, because with a lot of the other markers that I use, they don't feather as much on vellum. Some of them do, but not all of them. So there is that. A lot of that, like I say, is down to the delivery method of the markers, the way the ink comes out, and how consistent the ink flow is, which is, for me, the best part about these markers, the best thing about these markers. Okay, by the way, if you want to see speed drawings of all three of those artworks, they are up over on the Art Gear Guide YouTube channel, and also as well some still images of the minions is over on the Art Gear Guide website. These two artworks here were afterthoughts. This one here only took me 4 hours to do. I had to do that really fast because I knew I was running out of time to get this review up. And this one took me about 3 hours, I think it was. So didn't take me very long. And like I said, that both these pieces were just kind of like afterthoughts. I wanted to make sure that I gave you guys the best information on these markers. This was the one that took the longest time, because I only was expecting to do one piece of artwork, but it is what it is. So I've got some OLO marker paper, and also before I go any further, what I would say, if OLO want to take any suggestions at all from me, whatever this paper is that you guys have used for the swatch, you want to use this paper and make your own sketchbooks, your own marker sketchbooks, because this paper is phenomenal. That would be the only advice that I would give to OLO. Whatever you use, whatever this paper is, use it and make sketchbooks with it, because it's exceptional. So let's set that to the side. Okay, so let me zoom in here a bit. Okay, so let's hope I've picked a Copic marker that hasn't dried out, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you what I mean about whenever you're covering a large area with your marker, and with this type of marker here, which has got this like felt delivery system inside, when you're covering an area, you'll have to either slow down or stop completely occasionally to allow the ink to flow back down into the nib. And I'm going to show you the difference between the Copic and the OLO marker. So let me see. So you can see here, I'm just working my way down with the Copic marker, and so far it's absolutely fine. It's starting to dry out just a little bit here. You can see where the streaks are causing, and I've just filled this up. And you can hear as well the rubbing there, because it's now starting to get to the stage where I would need to stop, but you can see the streaks and stuff. And that's just because it just takes a little bit longer for the ink to get into the nib, and only a certain amount gets into the nib. But because inside the OLO markers, it is liquid ink straight from here into the nib. There's no reservoir inside this or anything like that. So I've got a blue here, and I'm going to do the same thing here. You can see there that the ink is just flowing. There's no problems with it whatsoever. It's not drying out or anything like that. Sorry, that was my hand. I had hold of it wrong. Should have picked this similar colour to what I have there. But you can see there, in this one here, you don't have these areas here. So these areas here are a clear indication of just the ink not getting into the nib of the marker fast enough. And so you're either going to have to go over it again or slow down or whatever. With the OLO marker, you can see there's none of that. There's none of that at all. And that is because of the system. Let me see if I can find a colour that's similar to this one. Okay, so I think this BG08 is a similar colour. Yeah, it's as close to it as I can get. So I'm going to do the same test here. Just so sometimes if you're comparing colour to colour, it's easier to see the difference. So let me crack on here. There you go. Now, don't worry too much about the little bits on the outside here, because that's where the marker is flicking off. In any case, it's the center of the flow. But again, you can see there's no this bit here is just because I finished it. But all the way down here to here, you can see that there's no stoppages the way there was with the Copic markers. So that's the best way that I think I can demonstrate to you about the OLO markers and the difference between the OLO markers, and how the ink flows from the actual tube to the nib. Now, OLO would because they're trying to market and they're trying to sell a product, and in this day and age, environmental issues and sizes and things like that, they all matter. And OLO have really, taken that into consideration with these markers. Obviously, there's a lot less in terms of the plastic and the waste because of the size. Shipping costs and things like that will be lower than, not that shipping single markers is expensive, but when you come down to shipping a full set, it's going to be cheaper because of the size of the actual markers. And like I said, the ink that's inside this is a little bit more than what's inside this marker, the Copic marker, or any other marker for that matter. And because, don't know if you can hear this, but that's me shaking the marker beside the microphone. Hopefully you can hear the liquid moving about. But they're just amazing. I love them. I absolutely love them. And I'm so gutted that I didn't get the other 32 colours. So I'm definitely going to have to get hold of the other 32 colours or 36 colours that are extra. Can't remember what it is, but I'm definitely going to have to get them and get the complete set. Okay, so to wrap this up, to bring this to a conclusion, I want to say a couple of things about the markers, and then we'll talk about whether I think they can compete with Copic or not. So one of the biggest things about the OLO markers is the delivery of the ink, the consistency of the flow, and how it is delivered onto the paper. Absolutely amazing. No flaws whatsoever. The range of colours now, as like I said, I don't have all of the colours, but the colours that I do have are gorgeous. I especially love the greys that they have in their set. They've got these red greys, which are phenomenal. Warm greys and cool greys, and then on the black end of the spectrum, they've got this K, which is just pure black. Then they've got this BK, which is blue black, and RK, which is red black. And when you're using it, like I used the red black in the Red Skull piece, and you can, when you look at it closely, you can see the red in the black. It's gorgeous. Same with the red greys; they're absolutely gorgeous. Now, where some companies in the past, when they've brought out markers, have failed against Copic is that they haven't provided enough really super pale tones. OLO have done that, and I am guessing that in some of the other colours that I don't have, there are even more pale tones. And so in that respect, 160 colours is amazing. But of course, Copic have 356, I think it is, or 358. I think that the OLO marker could absolutely compete with Copic if they added even another 40 colours, or even the 160 colours that they have. I definitely still think that they can compete with Copic, knock them off the top spot. I think with all of the issues that Copic are having with their markers, especially their sketch markers, people are fed up spending big money on products that aren't working. It's not fair. It's not fair on people to have to go out and spend that type of money on a product that isn't going to work. Artists are happy to spend money on art supplies, providing they're going to work. And with this OLO marker, not only does it work, it just works exceptionally well. So I absolutely love them. I definitely think they are, put it like this, whenever I come to doing more marker art and stuff like that, this is the marker that I'm going to be reaching for. I can guarantee you now, any marker pieces that you see me doing in the future, and especially if I get the I'm able to save up and get because I was fortunate enough to have this sent out to me for free, but the other colours I'm going to have to buy. So once I can save up a little bit of money and get these other colours, any pieces that you're going to see me do in the future will be done with the OLO markers, because I just absolutely love them. And you guys know me, I've had a lot of things given to me to do reviews on, so I don't do reviews favourably just because the product was sent to me. That wouldn't bode well for me in any case. You guys are too smart to have somebody try to pull the wool over your eyes, because as soon as you go out and buy the product, you will be able to turn around and go, well, he's talking nonsense, because it's not like this. So it's not beneficial for me to do that, regardless whether the company sent me the products or not. My primary focus and aim on this channel is to show you guys what an art supply can do and what it can't do, and hopefully give you the next best experience to actually holding the product in your hand. That being said, if there's any questions you have on the markers, please by all means leave them in the comments section down below, and I will do my best to answer them. If I can't answer them, I'll contact the guy who I know, and I will ask him, and he will definitely get back to me and help answer those questions for you. Prices and things like that I'll have over on the written review, because it is a little bit complex if you look at the way the systems are, because you can customize the OLO markers any which way you want. Whichever way is most comfortable for you as an artist, you can chop and change. I'll have all the prices over on the written review. You can go across, take a look at the different sets that are available and what have you, and you can take it from there. Also as well, if you want, I would love if you could follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. They're the kind of like main platforms that I'm on, is Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And so if you want to follow me on those platforms, I'll have the links down below. Again, just click on the link, it'll take you over, and then you can click follow. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, I would love you to subscribe to the channel. You don't have to. If you just enjoy the content and you enjoy what I do here, Subscribing to the channel just helps me out a little bit. That's all it is. It shows the YouTube algorithm that people are enjoying the content, and so therefore it kind of like pushes my videos out to more artists. So I would really appreciate that, but only if you enjoy the content. And also, if you like the videos, give them a like and a thumbs up and that type of thing. But most importantly, leave your comments in the comment section, because the comment section is where the real gold is on my videos. You guys leaving your information, all your opinions and things like that, that's where all the real value from my videos comes, is you guys talking in the comment section. So let's get a conversation going about these markers, about Copic, about any other markers that you've tried or used in the past, and maybe have questions about those markers as well. Leave them all in the comment section, and I will do my best to answer any questions that you might have about any other marker system. But anyway, thanks very much, guys. I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. Bye.